I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, this is a blue state and that's a red state, and I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you. And by the way, I like Florida as well. I like all these states. I completely agree.
California has rules about every nitpicky thing you can imagine. If you don't believe me, try parking in Santa Monica. Or starting a business, or getting your solar power hooked up. You can't fly a kite in a park in Beverly Hills, or ride a bicycle, or climb a tree. But for 30 years, Nestle took water out of the San Bernardino National Forest under a permit that expired in 1988. And Coca-Cola is somehow allowed to take water from municipal water supplies, stick it in bottles, and sell it back to the taxpayers who own the water to begin with. 395,000
Bill Maher just accomplished something that almost no one in the left media is willing to do. By addressing Gavin Newsom, he turned it into a public disaster. He didn't soften a word. He refused to allow him in. But before we go any further, if you enjoy quick commentary videos with detailed explanations, please take 2 seconds to subscribe to the channel. Alright, let's get back to our video.
They know. We are the most regulated state in the nation with more than 395,000 regulatory restrictions. It is a constant nightmare of inspectors and permits and fees. In this state, if you get to your car 10 seconds after the parking meter expires, it's already gone and you'll never see it again. California has rules about every nitpicky thing you can imagine. If you don't believe me, try parking in Santa Monica. Or starting a business, or getting your solar power hooked up. You can't fly a kite in a park in Beverly Hills, or ride a bicycle, or climb a tree. But for 30 years, Nestle took water out of the San Bernardino National Forest under a permit that expired in 1988. And Coca-Cola is somehow allowed to take water from municipal water supplies, stick it in bottles, and sell it back to the taxpayers who own the water to begin with. 395,000 regulations, but somehow that slipped through the cracks?
395,000 rules. Review that number again. It is no longer a state. That's a bureaucratic jail along the seashore. California, according to critics, has become one big office with no parking, no licenses, no buildings, no enterprises, and nothing basic. Bill Maher's entire argument in that video is also a great trap. The same administration that prosecutes you for standing 5 feet from a parking meter somehow failed to notice that Nestle was pumping water out of a national forest under a 30-year expired permit. This is corruption under the guise of law.
As far as the red tape, I see that they're all, Newsom, Bass, they're all saying, we're going to cut red tape, as if they're doing us a favor. My question is, well, if you can do it now, why don't you always do it? Obviously, it can be done. It's not a favor to us to cut the red tape. Why do we live in this state, in this red tape nightmare, the other times of the year when we're not on fire? I always think there's a middle of the road, actual practical solution to everything. And for this, I would say, was California's uber progressive politics the cause of this fire? Of course not. Did it impede them to some degree? Absolutely. That's the margin of error I'm saying we can't abide by.
It is present. This is a question that every Californian has been longing to ask. If Newsom can get past the red tape during wildfires, why not do the same for the remainder of the year? Critics claim that this one statement refutes every defense California Democrats have made in the last 10 years. The rules need to be in place, but they aren't. They were required to be there by the government. That's Maher's whole argument. In actuality, the dread of restrictions is a choice.
You've opened an interesting can of worms, Mr. Gaffigan. So, first of all, you think Gavin Newsom is running for president?
I think he's the likely alternative.
That's interesting because I like Gavin a lot. Now, I hope he runs for president because I think getting to the national stage would help with the one thing I have trouble with him about, which is sometimes he's way too cuckoo, woke left bullshit. You know, the California shit.
He was the mayor of San Francisco, right?
Yeah, but you know, that was a different time, and fighting for rights was, you know, a great thing.
Yeah.
At a time when that fight was still going on and needed to be fought on that level.
I remember moving to New York in the early 90s.
Way too Google woke left. A Newsom fan commented on national television, smiling like a friend who had completed performing. In private, every capable Democratic strategist concurs with that forecast, but no one has the guts to voice it in public. And this is exactly the problem that will precede Newsom into the national spotlight, according to Bill Maher. He can make the dress and hair seem good, but he can't make San Francisco look good.
And then whenever I read 80% of the water goes to agriculture. Almonds.
Right.
No one ever asked you about almonds? Oh, I'm going to ask you about almonds. We grow a boatload of almonds.
I'm well
here.
aware.
You know how much water it takes?
Many gallons.
1,900 gallons to grow a pound of almonds. Yeah. Come on, man. Take on big almonds.
Take on big almonds.
I mean, it's not like we don't have the water.
No. You're right about it. It's not that we don't have the water. That said, you know, the last couple of years were tough. I mean, but it's also where the water's falling and we're not capturing it. And we're not capturing in those extreme years with these atmospheric rivers. Wets are getting a lot wetter, dry's drier, hot's getting a lot hotter. And so we've got to modernize our conveyance system. We've got to modernize our storage, not just above ground, but below ground. And so that's a big part of our focus and frame, including desalinization plants. We have 20 projects just on desal that we're working on today. So we put out a detailed water strategy that includes, by the way, getting that Delta conveyance project back up and operational, and includes the first above ground off stream storage facility in half a century in the state, which, by the way, is being aided by a regulatory package I pushed forward to reduce red tape in the state of California and address the permitting quagmires that you rightfully pointed out.
Critics contend that California produces almonds for the global market, while its own residents suffer from drought after drought and are told to turn off the tap while brushing their teeth. This agricultural practice, which uses 1,900 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of almonds, is crazy under the pretense of agriculture. Bill Maher's assertion on big almond slices is also true. The politicians who claim to care about water use 80% of it. Bill Maher claims that this is a single crop that embodies the entire California scam. Place the responsibility on common people for the problem. Protect the powerful industries that are responsible for it.
And you're not able to actually encourage and find that common
No, it's
ground.
stuff like there's a new law in this. I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about. And this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
So do you think that's silly? Do you think that's a silly thing that we too much government there?
That's an interesting one because the department stores came to us supporting that, and they were the ones making a case for that. They were making a case they're already moving in that direction.
Wanted you to make a law about them?
Well, but they supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was enacted, that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support from the industry itself. But I understand how that's exploited, and good people can disagree. But that's not something we woke up and said, this is a top priority for the state, when we know what the top priorities are: homelessness, housing, the issues of crime, quality of life, and issues related to regulation and taxes, which are all...
Critics claim that Newsom's reaction was worse than the legislation itself when the gender-neutral toy section was shown live on television in front of his face. At that moment, Newsom seemed to be every outdated politician from California that the country is already aware of. Why does the government spend time on a rule governing how department shops set up the toy section while the state leads the country in immigration, taxation, and homelessness? That's precisely what Bill Maher means when he remarks that way too Google woke left.
But here's I feel like the last couple of years you've like purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, this is a blue state and that's a red state, and I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you. And by the way, I like Florida as well. I like all these states. I completely agree. I don't want to have a state of mind that's a constant fight or flight. We've gone through so much. We've been polarized and traumatized. There's been a tough 5-6 years across the globe, not just in this country. That said, I'm not going to sit back and watch. You made the point just a moment ago in your monologue. You got folks out there trying to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. America in reverse.
When Bill Maher pressed Newsom to sit down live on camera, he was forced to do so, which made him chuckle. This is exactly the problem. Newsom has spent the last 4 years squabbling with governors thousands of miles away, rather than making improvements to the state he really oversees. Whenever a Republican is in charge, and there are cameras, like in Texas or Florida. Meanwhile, San Francisco streets are littered with needles, tents, and open drug markets. This is not the leadership of the future. This audition is open nationwide.
Had some controversial figures on, I'll acknowledge that, and Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and some others. But you're right. I mean, this idea that we can't even have a conversation with the other side.
You have to. They won.
Thank you. That's it. Bottom line. And by the way, or the notion we just have to continue to talk to ourselves, or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with people I disagree with, it's an opportunity to try to find common ground and not take cheap shots. I'm not looking to put a spoke in the wheel of their, or at least a crowbar in the spokes of their wheel to trip them up, to your point. And I think it's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature.
Newsom spoke aloud that 27%. At this moment, the Democratic Party's prospective presidential contender said on camera that the party's standing was ruined. And every American Democrat has to listen to this part. The 27% number was not derived from a Fox News survey. It started with NBC. This material is being provided by friendly sources. And the number is still falling. When your own prospective nominee says your brand is toxic while trying to sell you to the country, you don't have a plan for a recovery, according to Bill Maher.
Oh, okay, he's signaling to his base with the deep knee cross.
Back up here.
Yes.
I totally understand your point about signaling, and I think you're right. I did not get the memo on Newsom's legs.
Oh.
What is it? Is this a thing? Is this somewhere on the Tuckergram that I missed?
No.
Newsom's signaling people with his legs?
If you see pictures of Newsom with the leg cross, it is that. Okay, first off, guys would do this a lot.
I do it.
I do it too.
Because I'm a guy.
And then women would do a sort of this.
Yeah.
But the
bitches.
Deeper the blue you get, the deeper, more compressive, the further it gets across. When you see pictures of Newsom with his legs crossed, it's insane. And the thing that's funny is Trump sits with his knees apart, and then he makes a diamond with his thumb and forefinger, and he puts it in front of his nutsack, and he says, focus on this.
The knees deep cross. That is the analysis of scope. Adam Carolla is now looking for signs of political theater in Gavin Newsom's body language. Critics claim that the irony is that Carolla is right. Every action Newsom does in front of the camera seems purposeful. Every intentional pause, every leg cross, every hand gesture. Tomorrow, this image will serve as a single representation of the whole Newsom brand. A person is exerting leadership instead. After that, Newsom's own comments turn the entire diatribe into a farce.
I heard Gavin use this phrase, culturally normal. Did you see that?
I know.
He was asked about, I guess, how the Democrats can win. And I think that phrase is going to bubble up. He said they have to learn to be more culturally normal. How do you think that? Put some meat on those bones. What does that mean?
We used to be the party of the factory
normal, do you
floor,
think?
and now we're the party of the faculty lounge. And I say this, I'm a faculty member at UVA. But this elitism, this intellectual elitism on my side is so off-putting. And the sanctimony, the judgmentalism. I saw Andy Bashir recently. He told me that someone talked to him about, and the phrase was justice-involved populations. Do you have any idea what that is?
Prisoners.
Prisoners. I grew up in a prison town. We did not call them justice. We call them crooks, prisoners, convicts, inmates.
I think Gavin made a big mistake with his read.
Characteristic for the culture. The phrase was created by Newsom to describe what the Democrats need to become. Gently read it again. When he publicly admitted that his own party is culturally aberrant, the opposition earned the year's greatest political gift. Furthermore, the most true evaluation of the modern Democratic Party ever seen on national television is Paul Begala's comment about the party of the professor lounge rather than the manufacturing floor. When the average Democratic activist calls criminals justice-involved communities, you've officially stopped speaking English. Because you are speaking intelligently, the ordinary American has stopped paying attention to you.
And I just think that, I actually know Nicki Minaj. She's now, as you know, very Republican. But I think that she pointed out, this aspect of politicians make these comments and they're not themselves.
What are you referring to? Tell the mayor.
Well,
he was talking to the mayor of Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't want to misquote him, but basically the implication was he wasn't, good at
He was trying to say, I'm one of you.
Yeah.
So he basically said, I'm dyslexic. I don't read very good. Like you guys.
Yeah,
and
it's insulting, right? It's
insulting, and it's also a function of when you're on a book tour running for president, you do a million events a day. Your brain is fried at 8 o'clock at night, and you're trying to not step on the landmine, and you.
Newsom indicated that the mayor of Atlanta was unable to read aloud on camera to a national audience. Critics claim that this is the exact kind of I'm one of you moment that reveals a politician who has no connection to the people he is pretending to represent. This is what happens when someone's entire career is a performance, according to Bill Maher. You become incapable of simply speaking like a normal person. Every sentence becomes a strategy. Every joke becomes a trap. Regular voters around the country could also notice it.
Out here in California, pulling off in his own way what I think he wants to. He's being known more for trolling Trump on his podcast or with other interviews than what he's actually doing in the state of California. They think that's leadership because they don't have it. They know what they're doing. These politicians know. They know where the money is. They know how to get some of it too. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene came into office, she was worth a couple of $100,000 according to the reports. How the hell you leave departing and you worth $25 million? Where'd it come from? I work every day. I make a pretty good salary. I ain't making $25 million working on Capitol Hill with a salary that's less than $400,000 by accident. Somehow, some way, lobbyists up on Capitol Hill, you vote in one way or another, making sure that you assuage their concerns and appeal to them and all of this other stuff. And in the meantime, you getting paid, but the American people ain't. That ain't an accident.
How do you really feel?
That ain't an accident. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Stephen A. Smith made the statement in real time on national television. There is currently only one item that makes Newsom famous. He was mocking the opposition on his podcast. Not a solution to California's issues or homelessness, just political drama. The data, according to critics, brutally supports Stephen A. It is estimated that California will have spent $20 billion addressing homelessness between 2019 and 2025. Furthermore, under Newsom's direction, the number of homeless people has risen from around 108,000 to over 181,000, a 32% increase. He's not fighting that crisis. He has overseen such circumstance.
Obviously, he's running for president, and Josh Shapiro is running for president. And, Josh Shapiro, he was here last week. Yeah. He has a really good story to tell about his state. Now, I like Gavin a lot, but that's a lot harder story to tell.
On national television, Maher openly supports Democrat Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. This is a very significant sign. When Bill Maher publicly praises one liberal star while shrugging at another, the message is clear. Shapiro has a story to share. There are explanations for Newsom. Shapiro is operational. Newsom has one of the highest tax rates in the country and one of the highest rates of outmigration. Tomorrow, the choice is obvious.
We're going to hold this hostage, and right. You're right, the people are the ones who pay.
That's right.
But, you mentioned our governor. He used the words culturally normal. He said the party needs to get more culturally normal.
He needs to get more culturally normal.
What
It's
is
just the truth. It's just the truth. I actually like Gavin Newsom a little bit anyway, but it's just the truth.
I like him. What does that mean to you, culturally normal? What do you think he means? What does it mean?
I do not know what he means, but I will. I don't. But I will tell you. I mean that again. I come from Michigan, where like the average person just is a very pragmatic, like put your head down, and wants to work.
Right.
That is it. And so I will be honest. We made hats at the end of my last campaign. They just said Team Normal. I don't give a if you're a Republican or a Democrat and independent. Just like live in the zone of practicality. And the far right and the far left live in a different universe.
He needs to adopt more cultural traits. Stephen A. Smith responded to Newsom's own assertion in this way. This joke, according to critics, will haunt Newsom for the rest of his political career. It turns out that the joke was an attempt on his part to seem sympathetic. Bill Maher claims that this is the reason why realistic leaders are becoming more popular instead of theatrical ones. Michigan needs leaders who improve things. Leaders who improve things are what Ohio wants. Pennsylvania needs leaders who improve things. Furthermore, the far right and far left live in very different universes, according to Bill Maher's diagnosis.
Are you a results-driven guy?
No, I like to think. Watch things fall apart.
I mean,
of course
you wouldn't build a show that you build and win at the levels you won, for decades if you weren't results driven, right? I mean, you're Bill Maher. What
do you mean? Well, what's the point about results?
That's exactly where I'm going with you. So results driven guy.
Right.
What areas has Newsom won in? You said he's a winner.
Winner of the election. He could win the election.
But based on what though? Do you want results? Like what has he done to California to say he's a winner?
Oh God, I don't know. It's too.
Bill, you're a smart.
You know what?
guy.
He made it rain. Okay, dude. It wasn't raining.
Someone you said that. He said great job.
It wasn't raining, and now it's raining. So he's got my vote.
Okay,
you know what?
Respect. I mean,
I don't know. I don't follow the news. That's a character
Bill,
I play on television.
It started to rain because of him. That was the answer. That was the extent of Bill Maher's defense of Newsom's record. When asked what Newsom had really accomplished, not the podcasts or the campaign, Bill Maher remained silent. Then, because there was nothing else to say, he joked about whether or not reviewers thought this was the most honest segment of the entire show. Under his direction, California's homeless population has grown by more than 1/3. State deficits have increased to $125 billion over the last 4 years. Businesses are fleeing. Families are moving. There are still a lot of regulations. Any candidate may be nominated by the Democratic Party for 2028 tomorrow. But it's the California record. Moreover, it won't matter how much hair gel, deep knee crossings, or culturally acceptable catchphrases are used. Gavin Newsom was the reason it rained. I'd like to hear from you right now. Tell me, is Bill Maher right when he claims that Newsom is only an image and has no real substance? Can any Democrat win the White House with California's history hanging over them? Include a remark with your answer. You won't be able to see what comes next if Bill Maher spoke what needed to be said. So click that and subscribe.